In this video, we're going to give you an introduction to writing major scales. Now that we know how to find half steps and whole steps, we're ready to learn a few major scales. A major scale is an arrangement of notes either going stepwise up or down, using each letter once except for the start and the end. We can start by writing it then for an octave. It represents the notes that belong as part of a system that we call a major key. Without getting too technical, a key revolves around a primary note called a tonic and how the other notes create tension and expression before coming to rest and resolution on this tonic. So if we heard a chord progression like this, this note that I started and ended on is our tonic, and that's the one that sounds resolved. If I ended the progression like this, and stopped right there, that would sound unresolved. The point is that it's important to know what the tonic is, and that's the most restful tone. So when we say that a piece is in C major, what we mean is that C is the tonic and it's the most restful tone, the one that everything resolves to. So a scale is a way to represent the notes in a key, starting with the tonic and going for an octave and ending with the tonic in a different register, higher or lower. A major scale starting on this tonic has a magic formula of half steps and whole steps. So from there, we'll go whole step, half, whole, whole, half. So let's see how this works if we write a major scale starting on the note C. So let me write a treble clef here. And the notes that we're going to play are, there's a C, there's a D, that's a whole step, the E is a whole step, the F is a half step, the G is a whole step, the A is a whole step, the B is a whole step, and we're back at C and it's a half step. So we're writing the notes of the white keys of the piano from this C up to that one. So that if we write those notes, we've written a C major scale for one octave going up or ascending. Notice that the half steps are between E and F and between B and C. So in other words, there and there. So we're following our pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 and half. And to remind you again what it sounds like, what if we use that same pattern, but this time we'll start on the note G as the tonic. Remember, the pattern of half and whole notes is the same as it was before, which is to say whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So now instead of starting on C, we're going to start on G over here. And from there, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 that takes us to that black key, and then a half at the end. So if we're going to write this out, G, A, B, C, D, E. Now because we have that black key, we have an F sharp, and we end on the G. The whole thing again. Two interesting observations. First, in order to make this major scale on G, we had to use an accidental, the F sharp, whereas the C major scale used all natural notes. And second, by using 5 whole steps and 2 half steps, we're assured of coming back where we started. Think of it this way. If a whole step is as big as 2 half steps, then 5 whole steps plus 2 half steps covers as much distance as 12 half steps. In other words, 5 times 2 half steps, that equals 10, and 2 half steps there, and that equals 12. That's 1 trip around the clock. So here's our clock. Let's look at the C major scale. We started on C, D, E, those are whole steps. F is a half step. G is a whole step. A is a whole step. B is a whole step. And then we're back on C, right where we started. I erased that. Now let's go around the clock starting on G. So we're going to be starting there and going from there, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. Now I need a whole step, so I have to move not just one hour or one slot, but I have to move 2 slots to make a whole step. I'll write that as F sharp, not G flat, because I want each letter to be used once. So I've already got the G over here, and I don't have any version of F yet. That's why I write F sharp and not G flat here. And then from F sharp, it's a half step to get back to the G. Let's build some more major scales, in particular, the ones starting on D, F, and B flat. If you get a little confused about the order of whole and half steps, here are 2 ways to remember them. So you could think of whole, whole, half, and a hole in between, and whole, whole, half over there. So the 2 4-note groups, remember the 3 intervals covers 4 notes. The 2 4-note groups have the same pattern and are a whole step apart from one to the other. Or another way to think of this is that there are half steps between the 3rd and 4th notes of the scale, as well as the 7th and 8th notes of the scale. Okay, so let's try writing this scale on D. So whole step, so from E, a whole step is not F but F sharp. Half step, whole, whole. I need a whole step here, so it's not just C but C sharp. And then I'll end on D. And we notice that there are half steps there, and that we've used each letter once, and that we begin and end on the D. Okay, let's do the same thing, but starting on F. Whole, whole. I want a half step, so I need to go to B flat, not B natural. And then a whole step, and a whole step, and a whole step, and a half. So this was our first scale that actually used a flat note and not a natural, but that's because we wanted a half step there, as well as a half step there. Okay, let me erase the D major scale, and I'll write a scale based on B flat. So now B flat's going to start, and I want a whole step. B flat to C is a whole step. C to D is a whole step. I want a half step now. So there it is. And whole, whole, whole. And I have to write the flat up there. We don't assume that's a B flat because this B flat is in a different register. So I have to write the flat again if I'm writing all the accidentals out. So again, half step there and half step there. Let's look at how all 5 of these scales look together. So here they are. That's the C major scale, that's the G major scale, and that's the D major scale. Here's the F major scale and the B flat major scale. And we notice that the C major scale is all white notes, no black keys at all. The G major scale has an F sharp. The D major scale uses an F sharp and a C sharp. F major scale has a B flat in it, and the B flat major scale has B flats and E flats as well. If you can pick the right scale, there's an orderly pattern to adding sharps compared to what we have before, or adding flats compared to what we have before. But we'll talk about that in a different video. This is a lot of information, but it fits a logical pattern. While you now have the tools to build a major scale starting on any note, let's master these 5 scales first. We'll add more later. Now go practice.